I call this regular meeting of the Southwest Licking Local School District Board of Education to order. It is May 16th. We are in the Board of Education meeting room. I'd like to recognize all of our visitors here and also online. If you could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was great.
That was funny.
That was great.
That was fun.
Mr. Jones, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Engel.
Here.
Mrs. Moore.
Here.
Mr. Vincent.
Here.
Mr. Zani. Mrs. Spindler.
Here. We do not have any public participation from the walk-ins, correct? Correct. Adoption of agenda.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Engel.
Yes.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 2, we have 3 presentations. First up is Susan Cottle from Etna Elementary and Mr. Joe Pratt from Watkins Intermediate School.
We're not actually together, though.
I know, but it
I'm just
has
kidding.
you listed together, so.
I just said I'm Susan Cottle, I'm the principal at Etna Elementary, and I have with me 2 of our student ambassadors from Etna.
Ava Space, Sophia Toy.
Ava and Sophia will be helping me out this evening. Let's see if this works. Oh, that's the last one. We're just gonna go back. Don't pay any attention to me right now. So here you'll see how long it's gonna be, so you know what to expect. Awesome. Okay. When we were putting together a presentation, we were going to highlight some special events that we have going on, but instead, when I asked students and teachers the best things, we decided that we would just highlight things that are going on every single day in our school. One of the things that we wanted to highlight is our SEL program. It's called Character Strong, and
Can you hear me, Rick?
Morgan introduced that to us, and we absolutely love that program. And I wanted to just show you, this is a video of it. Starts with a song, they have a classroom discussion, and then they talk with each other, and then they share it out. So we'll see if this plays. This is one of our kindergarten classes, Mrs. Rigler's class. Oh, well, it went in reverse, great. Hey, there we go. Start playing. So there we go.
We'll be faster and stronger. We'll work as a team. We'll be smarter and wiser. As a community. Cooperation is working together to reach their goals.
Okay, so then they
We'll be faster and
look it again. Just look it again. Okay, so they did such a good job. We wanted you to see it again. So they do a class discussion.
It's still a little new. What is cooperation? What are you thinking, Callum?
when we work together.
Ooh, I like that, where we work together. We do that all the time, don't we? Tell me more about cooperation.
So they talk about cooperation, and they turn and share with each other, and they have a prompt. So every grade level has a different prompt that they do around the same character trait, which this one is, in cooperation. And then they share out, and they make connections with each other.
Cooperation. We've been talking
Next
about
one.
cooperation for about.
Do it again. This one.
Your mom, Noelle, worked together with her dad. That's like a connection. You guys have something in common. Eli, would you mind sharing what you told me whenever we were talking? How did you cooperate with your brother?
When I was playing with puzzles, like I couldn't build a puzzle line, but when my brother came up, he helped me.
When Eli was sharing that story, what I really loved about it is he didn't get frustrated in his story because he couldn't do his puzzle. He asked for help, and that's why we use cooperation. Sometimes we can't do a challenge or a task by ourselves, and guess what? We're so lucky we have people in our lives to help us and to cooperate with. Sometimes you'll be really good at something, and you can help someone else, and sometimes someone else can help you when you do a challenge.
Like I said, we love this program. We just had another school district reach out and ask us how we love it, or how we like it. And we said at the school, we can't say enough good things about this program. Last year was definitely not the same for the SWL program that we used, so that was great. And sorry. We wanted to talk about our celebrating of successes for students. So we like to celebrate as many things as we can. We have Eagle tickets. Regal Eagle Classroom and awards, and we have weekly winners. They lead the announcements. And one of the other things that we do that we think is very important, which is our young ladies that are here, we have student ambassadors, and I believe that building leadership skills in students is very important, and they take on leadership roles. So when we have our book fair, they are shoppers. They help with personal shoppers with the kindergartners and first graders. They help with our Santa shop. They help with breakfast in the morning. They help with the younger kids. If you've ever been in with kindergartners, they can't open anything on their own. So they help with all of that. And anything that I ask them to do, like come to a board meeting on a Thursday night, and they say sure. So next, go to the next one for me. Okay, so we also want to talk about some of our literacy successes because that has been huge this year. And our ambassadors are going to bring the, they're just right here, just up here. Just take it to him. Yep. Wanted to show you our
Thank you very
literacy
much.
newsletter. This is done by our primary literacy specialist at our school at Etna. And it shows a lot of the things that are going on in the classroom. Great, thank you, ladies. So it shows a lot of the things that is going on in the classroom, and it highlights for each other, so teachers can see what's going on in some of the other classrooms. One of the things that we've done this year, everyone's embraced the science of reading and a literacy goal for a professional growth plan. Every single teacher has a literacy goal as one of their plans, and it's grade level, so that way they can work together and support each other to increase the student learning. And one of the things that the district did is allowed us to get OG, Orton Gillingham, trained for our 2 literacy specialists. And one of the things that I asked them is, what is the biggest difference that they see between this year and last year? And this was their answer. Oops, go ahead. I don't know why it's not working, sorry.
We feel like the instruction is more targeted to student needs. It's very specific to what the students are needing. We're not pulling a book out of the shelf and just giving it to the whole group. We're really targeting very specific skills.
We explicitly teach all of the phonics skills without assuming that students have the previous knowledge. We're constantly checking in to make sure that those gaps and those holes are filled in and before we move on to new skills. So nothing is left to chance.
And if you've never seen the OG program, it's very different. So I had one of our rock star students, Kinley, she agreed to let me videotape her doing her instruction. So this is, I'm going to show just a few videos that have just a small portion of what she does every day.
All right, and then we're going to start with our concept cards. This is our vowel. It protects short vowels from multiply consonants. What are the 3 rules we learned about vowel protector? Yes. You got it. This is a syllable. It has a bunch of divisions vowels, and there are how many syllables? Yes, great job. The final word is a syllable A. The syllable has 1. The vowel sound is short, and the syllable type is. We code short vowel with A. You got it.
And then there's actually 2 more videos. I'm just going to show this next one. If you could show the next one. It's her doing blending. It's okay. I'm sorry.
So remember, some of the words that come up will be nonsense words in today. All right, you go ahead and read. Great job, Kelly. Let's tap.
X.
Great job. And let's do one more. How about that one? Awesome.
Okay, and there's another video that I'll share this presentation with you if you want to watch it, where she does some coding. It's a very intense program. When they go through it, it's like rapid fire, where they're going through the different ones. They slowed down a little bit, so you guys were able to see what they were doing. I'm going to skip the next one, like I said, for time, but I'm going to go on to another student that is one of our students on the autism spectrum. His name is Ridham. At the beginning of this year, he knew 19 sight words. He now knows 41 in his reading, and this is a sample of him reading with his teacher, Amber Schmitter. It almost got me dry.
I see a yellow car.
Good reading. Down here.
I see a yellow car. I see a horse and a boy.
Good reading. Last sentence.
I see a fish and a boy.
And a what?
And a yellow ball.
Good reading.
Sorry, gets me emotional. The next thing that we want to talk about is when I ask students, they all love, when they do their literacy, they love their Haggerty program, which is a phonemic awareness program. So I'm showing you 2 different clips. One is what it looks like in kindergarten, and then the next one is for 2nd grade. They all use hand motion, so it helps with the learning process and isolate the syllables, so it later will help them with spelling. So this is Mrs. Rigler's kindergarten class.
Each slight cool go out cool ask class cool and slow.
Pat your brain game over. That's my favorite part. The next one is a 2nd grade video.
Start. Large. Farm.
Don't get tricked on this one. Marker.
So next, I'm going to have, if you go to the next video, we're just going to talk about the development of literacy. And this just came into my office today, right at the end of the day, and I was like, we have to bring this. It's a kindergartner that wrote a book, and his last reason that he loves, one of the things he loves about Etna is that we do Haggerty, and he can learn sight words and chopping words. So here's a sample of a kindergartner that did not know his letters when he first came to school. If you guys can pass him out the same thing that you did last time. And all the way over here, this young man also could not write his name. Some pretty complex sentences. When I share that with you, you'll be a little bit able to see it a little bit better. Sorry about that. And the next is a 1st grade student that's conferencing with her teacher, and they are going over the pre-writing process using a graphic organizer for them to be able to do their rough draft, and then they will do the editing process. The last one is an example of another graphic organizer that we use for tiger adaptations, and this allowed a student in a 3rd grade class to write a haiku poem in their poetry unit. Next slide, please. And this, I just want to say, it's going on right now with these 3rd grade students. The progression of this reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills is pretty amazing. They do a research project over a country. They will then produce write a 4-paragraph essay. They will make a graphic. They can make whatever your sample, whatever that they want, and then they do a presentation. It can either be individual, or they will collaborate together and do a presentation together for that. Can you go to the next one? And then the last thing that I wanted to highlight, I just wanted to give a shout out. We had some students that came to Early Birds. We had 21 participants that had not yet passed the 3rd grade guarantee. They came willingly. It was voluntary, so 3 mornings before school. They came since the end of January. They're actually still coming till next week. Some have taken the test, and of that 21, 9 additional have passed the 3rd grade guarantee, and they will have another opportunity when they do the OST. In our last slide, if you could. These are just events that are coming up that we would like to invite you if you wanted to come and see. We have our wax museum, our spelling bee, battle of the books, and right to read. And our ladies are going to hand you one last thing. And what these are open invitations that are for you any day of the week between the hours of 9 to 3. And we did 9 to 3 because we want you to avoid pick up and drop off because no one wants to be part of that. But we're very proud of the stuff that's going on at Aetna, and the teachers are used to having us in the classrooms all the time, and we wanted to invite all of you anytime. If you want to come, we'll show you around and you can see what these amazing students do. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was really good.
That is a tough act to follow. But Ms. Tydell and girls were awesome. Such amazing things going on at the elementary level and at Aetna. And the highlight of looking at a full day of kids, I gave you a great picture of what that looks like. It's exciting, the love for reading that we're seeing at age group. So we kind of looked at it at Walking to the Media, kind of a few snapshots, because it was tough to figure out what highlights we want to do. There's a lot of great things going on in our building. A few years back, when I came to the building, we talk about integration. So we are now in our 2nd year of humanities, and that's going to be our first highlight point. That was lucky enough to have both of our lead teachers, Sarah Sherry's going to start first and come up and talk a little bit about our 2nd year and our development into humanities, as well as it's a junior high level in 6th grade. So I'm going to turn the mic over so you don't have to listen to me the whole time.
What a great segue hearing from kindergarten through 2nd grade, what they're doing with reading and writing, and now moving into what our 4th and 5th graders are doing at Watkins Intermediate School. 2 years ago, I don't have any slides, I don't have any videos, I'm not with technology. 2 years ago, we started revamping our language arts curriculum. Our goal was to integrate social studies and our language arts standards into one class. And what this did is it created a 2-hour language arts block for teachers and for our students to have that nice block of time to really learn and delve deep into the many language arts standards. Each grade created themes. Sorry, I'm nervous. I speak in front of children all day, but it's different with adults. We created themes that would carry students throughout the school year. 5th grade starts the year learning about survival, and then we go into heroes for the 2nd half of the year. 4th grade divided theirs up into quarters instead of semesters. Some of their themes are what's the story and how does government work. We have a 2-week cycle that we start with each of our new questions. We're working on right now, how did heroes shape history? Is our big question in 5th grade. So we start with a pre-test, we end with a post-test, and or some sort of culminating project. The students right now are learning about first and second-hand accounts. They're creating a first-hand account and a second-hand account of the same event in history based on an important person's life. And from there, they're gonna create a scrapbook page with a timeline. So lots of different components going into this project. In the fall, we start off with survival. Our very first question is, how will you survive? The kids are thinking that we're gonna drop them off in the woods, but we're really asking them, how are you gonna survive 5th grade? What are you gonna make of this year? But through that, we're able to tie in Hatchet, our 5th grade novel. We tie in camp and also map skills. We have activities such as trying to find Brian, the main character in Hatchet, trying to find his location in Canada based on clues in the story, using our map skills and even looking into ecosystems in Canada and using those clues from the book to find, okay, they said moose. Where would I find a moose in Canada? We eventually will tie in with our survival, surviving in different regions of the United States, and then finally, how did the Native Americans survive? With these changes of this integration, we saw tremendous growth from our students last year. In fact, I think it is that we scored 26 in the state as far as our growth went for 21 to 22 school year. So pretty proud of our students for that. All of our units encourage creative thinking, collaboration, reading and writing, lots of writing, which leads us into Jen Pitzker.
Good evening. I'm Jen Pitzker. I'm the 4th grade lead teacher, and I teach humanities. It is so wonderful to see what the early students are doing that builds upon what we are doing as well. And so as we were working on our humanities curriculum and integrating across the ELA social studies, we also started to look at our writing. How can we help our students improve their writing? How can we help our staff members, our teammates improve writing in their classrooms across all content areas, to where it isn't something extra, but some strategies so that they can easily implement. So it's not necessarily adding to somebody's plate. So we came across, there we go. So the writing revolution, the unique thing is that myself, Sarah Scher, and Amanda Henry, we all came across this resource in different manners. And it's blowing up because it's so wonderful. It has so many great and wonderful strategies that we were able to implement with our students from literally day one. We have also shared it with the other K3 classrooms, teachers, and we started to share it out with other teachers, and we're getting lots of great feedback on things that they can easily add to help improve their writing across the curriculum. Because TWR is not its own curriculum, it's not isolated, it's not something separate, it just enhances everything across the board. So the TWR principles are based upon explicitly teaching. So I do, we do, you do. And the whole TWR principles are based upon sentence building. And I know that might seem basic, but I know when we started at the beginning of the year and we asked our 4th graders what makes a sentence, they said 6 words, capital punctuation. And so we said, okay, so go dog went farm. Is that a sentence? And they were like, I don't know. So we really started from the bare basics and worked our way forward. And so the TWR method is based upon the Hochman method, if you've ever heard of that before. But it's all about teaching writing across all grade levels, across all curriculum, all subject areas, starting with sentences. So how kindergartners would work on sentences might be different. How I work on sentences might be different on how high schoolers work on sentences. But it's just that foundation building all the way across and throughout. We have been noting a huge change in our students' writing. Their attitude has been amazing. At the beginning of the year, it was, do I have to write? Do I have to pick up my pencil? Their skills have improved overall, and their confidence has definitely improved overall. They want to share their writing. My students will actually get upset because we can't share everybody's writing every single day. So they want to share their writing, they're confident in their writing, and it's not just an ELA class. Across the hall in my co-teacher's classroom, they will write and complete sentences in science and in math and not even blink an eye about it now. Whereas at the beginning of the year, they're like, what do you mean I have to write? It's math class. So we are definitely seeing a huge change in students writing across the board. I know in my own classroom, when I did the Restart Readiness practice test last year, my class average was in 2 out of 10 range. When we did the Restart Readiness practice this time, we were in the 6 out of 10 range. So I'm excited, the students are excited. When we don't specifically work on writing, they actually get upset. And the nice thing about the writing revolution is that it also ties into the science of reading. So it helps in all of the areas that we are focused on in order to help our students grow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jen and Sarah, for giving us a nice snapshot of a little bit of our curriculum that we're really proud of. It's not just the instruction of standards, the social emotional component I go on and on about, but I think it's a great opportunity to highlight one of the true celebrities we have in our building. So I'm going to introduce Michelle and our celebrity, well, your celebrity, Sydney, our therapy dog.
If you come to Watkins Intermediate, it's kind of hard not to see Sydney. She is all over the building. She has her own mailbox. She has students that love her. And it's kind of interesting. She is she's my full-time colleague, Sydney. She has been in our school district since 2019. But don't worry, Mr. Jones, she's not on the payroll. So she gets,
I've never seen that one,
she
yeah.
gets love and treats, so you don't have to worry about that one. But her main job is to put a smile on the students' faces. And that's one thing that she does. And I did put a video together because it's kind of hard to see what she can do, but showing through that video, that is the best way to see what she does for our students.
Watkins Intermediate School has a furry staff member who is winning the hearts of everyone on campus. Sydney, a 7-year-old mixed breed, once shelter dog turned therapy dog, has been spending her days in the school, bringing joy and comfort to the students and staff alike. She has been doing this now for several years. Sydney's calm and loving personality make her the perfect fit for her job as a therapy dog. She spends her mornings greeting students and putting smiles on their faces as she goes. Each morning is spent at a different pod, where students get time to come and visit with her. After checking her mailbox, she heads to the green pod, where she spends her day in Mrs. Hamilton's classroom. Throughout the day, she has student visitors stopping by for a check-in time, as well as others that need some TLC and a special job. You can often find students petting her as they are working or even talking with her while they are taking a break. Sydney has quickly become an integral part of the school environment. She has a calming effect on students who are upset or anxious, and her presence alone can help students feel more relaxed and at ease. But Sydney's impact is not limited to emotional support. She has also been credited with helping to improve academic performance at the school. Many students write daily to Sydney, and she responds back to them through personalized postcards and stickers. Students that struggle to write find this form of authentic writing rewarding. Studies have been shown that therapy dogs can help reduce stress and anxiety in students, and this can lead to better academic outcomes in the classroom. In addition to her important work with students, Sydney has also become a beloved member of the school community. She has made many friends among the staff, and her playful antics and affectionate nature never fail to put a smile on their faces. Overall, Sydney has proven to be an invaluable addition to Watkins Intermediate School. Her ability to provide emotional support, improve academic outcomes, and bring joy to the school community make her an important asset to the school environment. Her story is a reminder of the incredible impact that dogs can have on the lives of others when given the opportunity.
As you can see, she's absolutely amazing. She can do more than I could ever do in a classroom with students. Even this year, I've had several students emotionally just upset, and all I've needed was her. She goes over to them, sits with them, they pet her, and then they talk. So that's been awesome. The letter format that she does, there must be 10 letters a day that I get from students. To her, not from me, but they don't notice me. But she writes back to them every day. So she gets, through the PTO, we got some postcards and stickers that she sends back, and she sends them back mail. And, some kids write 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times, 5 times a week. They get a postcard every single time. But it's important. And a lot of students that do write will give some information about maybe their families or problems they're having with other students on the bus or things like that. And it's kind of like she's become that counselor for them. It's easier for them to talk to her. So I invite them to lunch or during my planning period, and they come down and we sit down with Sydney and we have those conversations. I have a couple kiddos now that I've started to do some check-in, check-outs, and they do a job. They help her go to the bathroom, take her for a little walk with me, and it's just good to talk about those social skills while they're doing that, and then talk about how she responds to them. But overall, I mean, she's over and beyond, has exceeded every thought that I would ever have thought she could do. And I do really thank Joe Pratt, because had he not had that thought in his head, like, hey, yeah, go ahead, bring her in, let's go ahead and do a dog club, I don't think that, I would ever have seen this. And it's, we really, truly appreciate that. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sydney.
It's definitely not dated to have the support video as your data. She's incredible, and truly put a smile on kids, adults, and my face as well. So we actually, there's one more snapshot, but I know with time purposes, we are running a little late, but through our curriculum, it's not just academics, it's not the social emotional component, but we focus on extracurriculars as well. So we have many opportunities from our quiz bowl team that's just really successful in their first match to opening our gym, to all different things in the course of our building. We've started, though, for students that aren't able to participate now outside extracurricular activities, to do clubs once a month in our school, which has been a huge hit. We have everything from engineering to sign language to robotics, and it's just, we've taken on one component that I wanted to show a video of you at the time. And it's Minecraft, one of the kids' favorites, right? Mm-hmm. And Mrs. Lucas has found a way to take Minecraft and then not only do it for clubs, but to integrate it within the social studies curriculum. So, check it out.
Hi, I'm Audrey Lucas. I'm a teacher at Watkins Intermediate, 5th grade, and Mr. Pratt asked me to talk to you guys a little bit about how I've incorporated Minecraft into my classroom this year. I should mention that Minecraft education is a branch of Minecraft that is geared towards each grade level and each content level. It has like hundreds of pre-made lessons, pre-made worlds that are designed for different standards and topics. And then within those standards, you can choose what you want to do, which world you want to do, or if you want to make or create your own world. So with my club, I have them in table groups. So each table group kind of has a different mission. They can decide in that table group if they want to be in survival or creative. They can decide if their goal is to duel, or maybe if their goal is to build something really awesome. I had a club just today, and one of my table groups, their goal by the end was to determine who had the best inventory, who had found the coolest stuff. So that was their goal. And then if that goal doesn't fit a certain student's needs, then they can move to another table group, or they can choose to be in a world all by themselves. So that I found to be much more beneficial to the students, because they can choose what they like to do in Minecraft, and that's been awesome for clubs, so they can express their creativity, they can do what they want to do, and then no one's getting upset, and the collaboration that has come out of it is really neat. The engagement is awesome, and they just have so much fun with the fact that they're playing Minecraft at school. As I mentioned before, I also use it in my classroom. One of the lessons I used it for was math. They had an awesome volume activity where the kids were destroying blocks and putting them into preset boundaries, and then they could figure out which volume went with which color and which pile of blocks. It was independent, that one was, so each kid was in their own world, and it was a great introduction to volume, and it got them thinking and understanding the concepts of volume being how much space an item is taking up, particularly a 3D item. So when Mr. Pratt told me that we were getting Minecraft Education Edition, I was so excited for this Explorer lesson that I had been planning in my head for years. I put students into 4 different groups that I assigned, and each group started by coming up with a country name. So what was the country you're going to be sailing for? My personal favorite was the potato puffs. Yes, and here's their flag. I mean, how cute is that? So they came up with their flag, and then they also came up with their country rules. So they determined how were decisions going to be made. Are we going to have one person in charge? Are we going to vote on intense decisions? Are we going to travel together? Are we going to travel separately? Basically, they came up with their constitution. They came up with the laws that they wanted to govern their country as they were playing Minecraft. And then they all signed their constitutions together as a class. From there, I then had all of the students enter a world, and they all were at one main base. So my entire class was located at one base. Then I told the students that there were 4 villages that were each stashed with something different, some unique resource that's really difficult to find. Now, behind the scenes, my husband and I had stashed 4 different villages with these special resources. So this was a lesson that was not pre-designed. We had to make it, but we had a lot of fun making it. And like my husband and his college buddy even set like a couple booby traps for the students and stuff. It was super cute, but this wasn't a pre-designed Minecraft education lesson. We did this ourselves. Once the students entered the world, we gave them the coordinates to one of those 4 villages. And we did not tell the students what village they were going to. I knew, they didn't know. All I knew was that it was a valuable resource that was going to be very unique to their village. So we gave them the coordinates, and they had to find that village. We also only started them with very basic tools, so it was very difficult for them to do this. They had to travel like nearly 1,000 blocks, which takes about an hour. And they also had to figure out how do these coordinates work, which was a great lesson in latitude and longitude, as well as navigating and creating maps when you don't know where you're going, which is exactly what our explorers had to do. Once they reached their village, it was so cute to see them get so excited to figure out what their village was.
Oh my God,
So then, once they got to their village, they could decide what they wanted to do. They could decide if they wanted to come back to the main base, they could decide if they wanted to establish this village as their new base, if they wanted to establish a trade route, what they wanted to do with their resources now that they had them. But it's been a lot of fun, and I have loved having the resource, and I think my students would agree.
As you can see, Audrey, we have so many talented staff. We have so many great things going on. These are just a few snapshots. Walking through the media, as Ms. Cadell said, of course, you're always welcome at our building as well. And I appreciate your time, everyone else's time.
Thank you. Dr. Moore, K-3 literacy update.
All right, I don't have any videos, and I'll be pretty quick. I just want to also point out that Mrs. Dennison, our literacy coordinator, is back here as well, so she is here to help answer any questions. So I just wanted to do a quick update tonight on K-3 literacy. You'll see on the board agenda that there is a program for purchasing approval, so I wanted to kind of give some background information as to why that is on the agenda this evening. Just to tell you our timeline, we started talking about where we are with literacy in 2019, really looking in depth at it when the state started talking about dyslexia and the dyslexia laws coming out, and are we meeting every student where they need to be with our literacy instruction. So we took our school psychologists and building administrators, we went to the dyslexia conference, and it really got us thinking, well, how are we doing? So we came back, we did some audits, we began looking at our data trends and kind of what our needs were moving forward. What we did find was that our literacy growth has been pretty stagnant. Not awful, we have great teachers, we have great programming, but the growth has been pretty stagnant. So it got us questioning, what are we missing? What are the gaps that we're missing in specifically K-3 literacy? So we started by changing our universal screener. We went to STAR, which really gives us information on the skills that students struggle with. Rather than us just saying a student is struggling with reading, we can say a student is struggling with phoneme segmentation. Here's what we need to work on so that we can really target those skill deficits. We started a new MTSS, began planning that, And this MTSS process has been presented at conferences throughout the state and other districts. Like, we are setting the trends in what we're doing with MTSS right now, which is amazing. We created an assessment portal for our staff members to access data in one spot, because you can only make data-driven decisions if you can pull it all together in one spot. Mr. Tanchevsky and I had started attending a leadership cohort at OSU with district leaders from all over Central Ohio, to where we can talk and discuss what's going on with literacy education. Ms. Dennison and I began to do literacy walkthroughs with each principal, because it's also important that our building administration know what they're looking for in regards to K-3 literacy. And we began planning professional development. Moving forward, as Mrs. Caudill talked about, we put 5 teachers, our PLSs, through OG training last year, which is incredible to be able to put 5 through. We're seeing great gains from that, like they talked about. We started the Science of Reading PD, and a couple of us went to professional development at Walsh University to really hone in a little bit more on the science of reading and what it is. It's not a new research, it's very old research circulating back around, and we'll talk about that in a second. We also started visiting other districts that were seeing success in their literacy program to figure out what we were missing. We are in the process of next year, we will have 17 other teachers getting OG trained, which is incredible. That's quite exciting. And we purchased decodables, and then that brings us to tonight, that we feel like we need a change in programming for our phonics area specifically. So, why change? Number one, the data. The data has shown that we've been pretty stagnant, and we feel like we have found the root cause. And it wasn't just overnight. You can see we started looking in 2019. So we have done our research. We have research programs. We feel like we know the right direction to go. Our Tier 1 instruction, as I said, we have amazing teachers. Amazing things are going on. But we were missing providing them the resources in a few areas that they need in that Tier 1 instruction that we believe will close that gap. We need to be instructing phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary fluency, comprehension, and written expression. So what we're looking at to purchase kind of helps fill in some of those gaps. And then we also made a change in assessments. We used to use DRAs to say a student was a certain reading level, but that never really addressed how the student was able to read. Why are they a level 10 instead of a 12? Well, it's because they don't know how to do this skill. So it's getting back to a skill-based conversation to help students. And I put down there in the corner, when you know better, you do better. That's what we're living by, is now we know better, and we're going to fix what we've been doing. So what's changing? As I said, the phonics program, it is on the agenda tonight to switch to the 95% core phonics. It is an ESSA Tier 1 approved program, which means the government says there is enough research out there to support that this is a good program and has proven results. So that is one of the reasons we have chosen it. We also feel like it pulls together all of the components of the science of reading into one phonics program to help fill those gaps. The assessments that we talked about, we're going to be using Acadience to determine the specific needs of students along with STAR. And we'll be incorporating sound walls and writing. And though we still do cursive, there is a huge push to get back to cursive because of the automaticity it provides when you're reading and writing. That cursive really, truly does help a student progress. One of those, you know better, you do better. So we're going to go back to that. And then I just encourage you to, if you want more information, I have 4 great things up here for you to listen to or read. Sold a Story podcast. If you haven't listened to that, Emily Hanford does an amazing job talking about her own child struggles and what she has discovered through being a parent and researching all of this. Dr. Stephanie Stoller, who we went and saw at Walsh University, and she has become a very close contact of ours and is helping us through this process, and then 2 additional books that I think would be beneficial if you have additional questions about it. Questions?
Yeah, that was
Absolutely.
good.
I know I kind of flew through it, but yes, I'll send it to you.
I was trying to write the link. Right.
Yep.
I only got 1 out of 4. Thank you. Mrs. Ladowitz for the high school experience.
Hi, everybody. We have been building the master schedule, and it is important to note that when we build the schedule, we have to strike a balance between the needs of students and the needs of staff. And we have received inquiries recently about students who have a flexible schedule. That is, students who may be in the building for a few periods before leaving. And so I thought we'd take an opportunity to hear from some students directly about their experiences.
My name is Riley Cullen. I'm a sophomore at Watkins Memorial High School.
Hi, Riley. I wanted to ask you a couple questions about the flexible scheduling here at Watkins Memorial. So first question, tell me about your school day. How many courses do you have in the building?
So I have 3 classes in the building, and I come in for first through third and leave after third. And my first class is U.S. history, and then go straight to geometry, and then honors biology.
How many courses do you take outside of the building?
I have 2 classes online through a high school in Florida, so I can get the NCAA credits, and it's English 3 and sign language 2.
When you leave the building for the day, what is your schedule like?
Once I leave the building, I go straight to practice in Lewis Center, and I have practice from 11:15 to 5 o'clock.
And what sport is that?
Gymnastics.
Does leaving the building early help you with your schedule?
100%. If I didn't have this condensed schedule, then I wouldn't be able to get the practice on time or have the necessary amount of hours in order to be a little tensionist.
What would you say the benefits are of a flexible schedule?
Once again, being able to get to practice and have all those hours while still getting all the NCAA credit to graduate.
Thank you very much, Riley.
Thank you.
Riley, I just have one more question. If you weren't able to have the flexible scheduling here at Watkins Memorial, what would you have to do?
I would have to go completely homeschooled and take all of my classes online.
Thank you. Hi, Kaylee. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what grade you are here at Watkins?
Yeah, so I'm Kaylee. I am an 11th grader here at Watkins, and I'm a part of choir. I love being a part of the student body. Yeah, I'm really involved in the school.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we have a couple questions for you about the flexible scheduling that we do here at Watkins. Okay? All right, so first question. Tell me about your school day. How many courses do you have in the building?
Yeah, so I have 2 courses. I take choir and then I take college anatomy. And, I'm only here for probably about 2 hours-ish.
Okay. So how many courses do you do outside of the building?
I take 3. I take Algebra 2, I take ELA 3, and Government.
All right. So when you leave the building for the day, what is your schedule like?
So I usually leave school around 9, and then I get home, I probably relax. Sometimes I go into work around 10. I have a job that requires me to be there from like 10 to 5, so I make quite a bit of money. And I have a lot more time to myself in the evenings. I don't really have to worry about homework. I really just have a lot more me time, and I don't have to stress as much about like exams and schools because it's all my pace.
Mm-hmm. So does leaving the building early help you with that schedule?
Yes, it definitely does. It definitely helps, it makes it easier for me to create my own schedule outside of school. It makes life a lot easier to make more plans with people. It just makes my life 10 times easier.
Okay. If Watkins Memorial didn't have a flexible schedule, could you still do this?
No. I currently work at a car detailing shop, and if I did not have the schedule, I could not work there. So it definitely wouldn't be possible to have this type of schedule.
What would you say are all the benefits to you when it comes to a flexible schedule?
Like I stated previously, I don't have to worry about exams. I get to work at my own pace, and I don't have so many demanding assignments. So I only have maybe a couple assignments a week for my ELA class. I only have maybe 2 a week or 1 every week. And so it puts a lot less stress on me, and I can just kind of relax. And if I miss a deadline, it's fine. I mean, obviously I need to make it up, but I don't have to worry about being so strict on schedule.
Thank you so much, Kayla.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Cindy Tong, and I'm a senior at Watkins Memorial High School.
Hi, Cindy. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions about flexible scheduling today. All right, first, tell me about your school day. How many courses do you have in the building?
In the building, I have 4 courses. So I start off with AP Stats, and then I have CS Capstone, and I have AP Computer Science A, and then AP Physics.
Very good. How many courses do you have outside of the building?
I have 2 classes outside of walk-ins. I have ethics class and a business class. Both of those are in the Oklahoma State.
So on a typical day, when you leave the building, what is your schedule like?
So after I leave the building, I usually spend like an hour or so working on my ethics class, and I'll usually take a little break, and then I'll spend like another hour on my business class.
So does leaving the building early help you with the type of schedule you need?
Yes, it allows for a more flexible schedule. Like, it allows for me to plan my day around my CCP classes and have more room, I guess, in the same building.
And if Watkins Memorial didn't have this flexible schedule, could you have the schedule you currently have?
No, I don't. So I really don't think I would have enough time for my CCP classes and also all of my extracurriculars and just like spending time with my family and friends.
Excellent. So you kind of just hit on it, but what do you think are all the benefits of flexible scheduling in school?
I think, yeah, it gives you more freedom to do what you want. So, like, in addition to all of the class stuff taking, I'm also, like, self-studying for Calc 2. That's something that I'm interested in. So, it really allows for more time for you. It's not like you have to spend 45 minutes in class. You know, like, you can do stuff at your own pace outside of class.
Thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you.
Hey, can you introduce us?
My name is Juan Moore. I'm a senior here at Watkins Memorial. I'm here in the part of saying we do need the scheduling we have, allowing us to leave a little earlier. It's just a lot better for me and a lot of other kids that do the same thing I do.
Great. So tell me about your school day. How many courses do you have a day in the building?
I'm here for 5 periods, but I'm only taking 2 courses. I'm taking English 4 and choir, or men's chorus. I don't need men's chorus, so I can technically leave after first even, second even first period, depending on whenever I have an English class. But I just choose to stay because I really enjoy choir. It's just fun for me and allows me to grow in the building a little more.
Good. Do you have any courses outside the building?
I do not. No, I take all my courses in the building.
Okay. When you leave the building for the day, what is your schedule like?
Right after school, I'll go home pretty much, and right after that, I'll go straight to work. And from that, it's working from basically 1 o'clock to 11 at night.
Does leaving the building help you with your schedule?
Yeah, it was one thing. Because if I didn't get 2:10 to, and then I leave, I get home probably around 3 o'clock, which already cuts off 3 hours, and then I probably go to work at 4, depending if my boss would like that. Depends on how it works with my job. So it cuts down time a lot. It's already 4 hours a week with my paycheck. And daily doesn't sound like a lot, but weekly, it cuts off many hours. I work 6 days a week, so it cuts off a fair majority.
Yeah. So if you didn't have this flexible scheduling option, what would you have to do?
If I didn't, me personally, I take a few days off work. If I didn't do that, I'd have to work more days, giving me less time for my friends, my family, anyone outside of school, anyone, anything inside of school. I just have to work so much harder to get the things I have currently.
All right, what would you say the overall benefits are of a flexible schedule?
Just time that kids my age specifically, a lot of times it's hard for us to get money to be able to afford things we have. Some people don't have that luxury of having time off, so they help their families. I, for one, do help my family. So, say if I didn't get that schedule, a schedule I do have, it hurts me, it hurts my family, everything starts to crumble in order, dominoes, and it just all fall out because I can't have that schedule.
Thank you very much, Juan.
Go to the next slide, Jim. As Riley, Kaylee, Cindy, and Juan highlighted, a flexible schedule allows students to work, take classes through a college and the digital academy, and engage in activities outside of school. There are also a wide range of other reasons why a student may have a shortened day. For example, for some students, an 8-period day surrounded by friends is overwhelming, and the mental health toll is simply too great. Other students help get younger siblings off to school in the mornings, while still others care for family members in the home. We have also found that a shortened schedule works well for some students to minimize the opportunity to demonstrate negative behaviors, increasing structure and reducing suspensions. And I want us to keep in mind that the state of Ohio requires 20 credits for graduation. We exceed this, requiring 21. It is important to note as well that requiring students to remain in the building to take classes they don't need and don't want results in truancy and increased behavior problems, and limits the number of interested students who can take a particular course. It is important to note that a flexible schedule isn't something that we impose on students. Instead, during the scheduling process, students and families figure out what's best for them and make course requests accordingly. While we are the experts in the field of education, it is not our role to make decisions for what's best for students outside of school. We trust our families to make those decisions. Let's shift a little bit and consider how we determine course offerings and how we build the master schedule. In late October, teachers receive a Google form through which they may submit course requests for a change in fees, prerequisites, altering the wording of a course description, the deletion of obsolete courses, and addition of new courses. Many requests for new courses over the last several years are the result of teachers pursuing advanced training so that they are credentialed to teach College Credit Plus classes. College Credit Plus photography, Photoshop, algebra, trigonometry, anatomy and physiology, general chemistry, physics, and programming all evolved in this way. This year, lead teachers reviewed all proposed changes prior to admin team final decisions in mid-November. When we determine whether or not to add a new course, the admin team considers a number of factors, including anticipated student interest and the similarity to existing courses. The final draft of the course description guide is sent to the staff for another round of review prior to being submitted to the board for approval. This year, we were happy to add a new feature to the course description guide, pathways in the core content areas, highlighting potential course progressions. These pathways were developed collaboratively in departments and are intended to help students and families plan for the future. It is never too early to talk about life after high school. Then around December, teachers receive a Google form on which they list their teaching preferences for the coming year. They indicate preferences for grade levels, specific courses, and even when they have a conference period. And they can give us additional information about their unique scenario. We certainly can't guarantee that all their preferences will be met, but we really try. Something as seemingly small as having lunch with your teacher bestie can make a really, really big difference. I'm looking at you, Minnie Pound and Lynn Severance. Have good news coming for next year. Once the course description guide is approved in January, we move on to the process of gathering student requests and teacher recommendations. We encourage teachers of elective courses to market their courses to students, and we certainly showcase elective courses in our presentations to 8th graders and their families. It is not unusual to find slides on our daily announcements highlighting, for example, the cool things about studying German or digital art. Once all requests and recommendations are entered, we determine how many sections of each course need to be built. To do this, we operate within the constraints of available teachers. While there is no hard and fast rule for how many students must request a course in order to offer it, we do need to make the best use of our staff. Sometimes it's just not possible to offer a course due to low enrollment. But in other cases, we can schedule a class for a small number of students. For example, last year we feared we would have to cut AP Physics. But students like Cindy advocated for themselves and the course. We revisited the numbers and we were able to make it work. We are open to any and all creative solutions to continue to offer students the opportunity to take the courses they want, while at the same time allocating staff members in a fiscally responsible manner. One feature of the master schedule that might be overlooked is the number of teacher preps. The number of actual courses a teacher must plan for has a tremendous impact on teacher workload and well-being, so we are purposeful in not overloading teachers with preps. In addition, I am personally committed to working towards lower class sizes in core areas, particularly in tested subjects. Thanks to the careful forecasting and allocation of human resources by district leadership, we are appropriately staffed and have built a master schedule that meets the needs of both students and staff. For the 2023-24 school year, I am happy to report that numbers in psychology and sociology are up, and this year's new electives, theater performance and creative writing, have had success, so they'll be back again next year. We have also increased numbers of students requesting bass choir, Spanish 3, 4, and 5, and for the first time in recent memory, we have enough requests to support 2 sections of AP Literature and Composition. We are adding 2 new College Credit Plus courses in the building, CCP Government and CCP Computer Programming, and we're morphing Honors Pre-Calculus into AP Pre-Calculus. We are happy to report that we have been approved by ODE to offer 2 sections of Advanced Qualitative Reasoning, a project-based alternative to Algebra 2. We're also piloting a section of Desmos-based Algebra 1, in which instruction throughout the year will focus on the thinking and problem-solving strategies rather than computation that students will use on the state test in the spring. That's my favorite part. I am so happy that I can report that due to overwhelming positive student experience in our pilot of an inclusion setting in physical science, world studies, and government, next year we will be expanding inclusion of our students with the most complex needs to biology, U.S. history, and environmental science. This is the result of an exceptional collaboration between our intervention specialists and core content area teachers, with the classroom support of our team of outstanding paraprofessionals. And finally, we will expand our targeted enrichment and intervention period to include math, reading, and executive functioning sections after overwhelmingly positive student feedback and results from this year's pilot. Folks, as the world becomes more complex and interconnected and the demands on our students change, schools have to evolve as well. We are proud to offer a wide range of core and elective courses to meet students' needs, interests, and strengths while creating a schedule that supports staff and manages resources responsibly. And on an unrelated note, I hope that you will all tune in online tomorrow to watch our Bionic Warriors compete. We will post the links online on Facebook tomorrow, and then also make sure that you come out to see Oliver this weekend. We have students from all buildings in the district participating. We saw the preview today, and it's going to be a wonderful show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those were wonderful presentations.
They're amazing.
So we are on item 3, requests to speak on agenda items. We have Teamsters or Southwest Licking Education Association.
Well, first, I just want to say it was amazing to see WIS and Aetna, teachers and students at work. That was really exciting to hear and to see. Great way to start a Board of Education meeting. This might be our longest, I think, all year that we've been going.
Maybe.
All right. So tonight, I wanted to briefly discuss my grandmother. My grandmother was a latecomer to smartphones. However, finally, I was able to convince her to get one. I sat with her for hours and explained it all to her, how to do it, set up her Facebook page, explained how and what each feature was. I set up her contacts, hundreds of them. I set up her favorite 10 contacts to reach quickly, and I was excited about how this would change her way of doing things. I left feeling like I had successfully set her up for success. However, I was wrong. Even with all the steps I took, she was not able to grasp using that phone in the way that I did. She was able to use her favorites, and she used that often to call the people she cared about the most. And she eventually was able to open text to see pictures sent to her, but my work did make a difference for her, just not as quickly as I thought. So I mentioned my grandmother's story because I think it illustrates some important items to keep in mind. It is exciting that the district is looking at new ways to teach our students to read, and Dr. Moore articulated the steps that have been taken, and that is exciting. Most of the elementary teachers saw the program materials for the first time at their staff meetings in this past week, and Crookersville will see them on Tuesday. But I mentioned some of my concerns to Dr. Perkins, who said that there will be a plan for training teachers, and materials will be in teachers' hands before the summer, so teachers can work with those materials and plan. And as a side note, so much for like summers off, that's not really a thing for teachers. But if the board does purchase this program, I want to caution everyone to remember that everyone has a different tolerance for change and a different way that they learn and a different speed of how they learn and adapt. I'm asking that these factors be taken into consideration. Even with the plan and piloting, we had a very rocky transition through Math Bridges, and with a lot of heightened fears and anxiety. And it is complicated to adopt a program at multiple age levels, jumping in. And it can be done. It's not unmanageable, but it does provide some challenges. So I think it's important to remember that no matter how much someone tells a teacher it's okay if you're not doing it right, if you're not getting it all, if you can't quite figure it out, the teachers are always their harshest critics. So I would just caution that teachers care deeply about our students, and they want the best, to be the best teacher that they can for them. So when teachers are unsure, it definitely adds some stress and anxiety. So doing something new will take more time than they've already done. And so if the board chooses to proceed with the program, I just want to add a word of caution that we provide the support, time, and grace the teachers will need to implement the program with integrity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 4, approval of minutes from the February 23rd meeting.
Motion approval of 4A.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 5, treasurer's report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah. Included on the agenda is the executive summary for February 28th. Fairly routine month. We did receive property tax advances, a lot higher than we anticipated, but overall, I'm not expecting that much more property taxes. It's just timing and getting payments. We still have not received our final settlement from Lincoln County yet this month, so hopefully we'll get that pretty soon. Other than that, it was a very routine month, nothing really out of the ordinary, and we're running very well. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Jones?
I don't.
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 6, personnel consent. We have A through H.
I move 6A through 6H.
Go ahead.
Second that.
Dr. Perkins, anything to point out?
Nothing significant this month. I do anticipate we'll have hopefully quite a few hirings next month.
Okay. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 7, business items. We have A through D.
Motion 7A through D.
Do we need to talk about any of these?
Yeah, we can do each one individually. Do you want to start, Rick? With
Yeah, Eric Baltzos from Gar Miller is on Zoom if you want to hear from him.
Okay.
He can give you an update on the new K-3 CD phase submission. Eric, do you want to go ahead and say something?
Sure. The phase submission, we were working with Hill to reconcile the budgets, and it was November when we had the DD reconciliation, and nothing has been added to the building project that would add cost. We actually cut $100,000 out through design. However, Hill's recommendation, based on what they're seeing with the current markets, they're recommending that we add, I think it's about 3% to the budget for basically bid day. They think between contractor overhead and profit and market escalations, that there might be some inflation that we see. And their biggest concern, I think, is that just being in a position that at bid day, if there is that inflation that they expect, that we have it budgeted to move forward. Obviously, we hope that we get really competitive bids and the pricing is better, and that money doesn't get used for the base bid stuff. It can be used for alternates, but that's where, if you see the increase on the LO5, that's what that's all about.
Stay on that line, Eric, if you would, real quick. So basically what Eric was saying, basically there's a $521,000 increase to the budget from DD to CD. But there's still two unknowns. The first one is the Lincoln County Planning Commission is requiring us to put a turn lane in at Watkins Roads at our middle school K-3 site. And that cost is kind of still unknown. We're estimating maybe about $500,000 for that turn lane, but we don't know for sure. The other major issue, and quite frankly, we have our attorneys involved now, is they're also wanting us to put a roundabout in at Watkins and Refugee, which is about $2 million.
The district?
The district,
Why?
yes.
We don't do roads.
We don't, that's an excellent point, and that's, so basically, right now, they're trying to tell us that we have to put that roundabout in because it calls for it.
Roundabout at Refugee and
Watkins.
The four-way stop.
The four-way stop, now put a roundabout. And the way the letter was written, that we have to maintain it too, which still doesn't make sense to me either.
And this is coming from the Planning Commission?
Lincoln County Planning Commission. So we do have a call. I mean, since we got that, I've been in contact with school district attorneys. We've had meetings with them. We have a meeting with the county engineer and the Planning Commission Monday via Zoom. Right now we're hoping we're leaning to the point that school district can't legally pay for it because it's not on our school property. We're not in charge of putting roads together. At least the turn lane's on our property, and we can sell that. But to put a roundabout that's on the other side of a housing development that's got bigger too, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
People don't like roundabouts.
Did they give their reasoning for this?
The traffic study, can you say more about traffic study, Eric? Do you know more about it?
Yeah, I can. So the traffic study at that intersection, so there's different levels. Let's just say A through F of the activity at an intersection. And whatever level you were all at that intersection, let's say it was D, with the traffic study, it showed that at only short periods of the day, that intersection would be at a higher level for just short periods of time. And from our consultant, the traffic study engineer said that most places that's not an issue. That even though they're seeing a higher activity at that four-way stop for a short period, because it is a short duration, they don't require any of those kind of improvements. However, Lincoln County, for whatever reason, is saying that they don't care that it's a short duration. They want that intersection upgraded.
They can do it.
So the other issue is
they absolutely can do it.
Yes.
So is there, hey Eric, you've done lots of other projects. Is there any precedent anywhere in the state of Ohio for anything like this ever that you can think of?
There have been instances where sometimes local jurisdictions want some road improvements that aren't necessarily adjacent to the school property, but nothing quite like this.
So if you go based on ODA, Ohio Department of Transportation requirements, neither the turn lane nor an improvement to Watkins Road would be required. But
Yeah,
Lincoln County, go ahead.
That's what surprised us is that ODOT has pretty stringent requirements, as you all can imagine. And like Rick was saying, both of these items, the turn lane and this intersection, per ODOT's requirements, they would not even request these improvements.
Who trumps who?
I think the county.
was-
It's a county road.
Yeah, it's not a state route, it's a county road.
Have the commissioners weighed in on this?
Well, I think at least one is part of the planning commission, maybe more than that. So I think Tim Bubb at least was part of the planning commission.
But that intersection is like the line that draws between Etna and
Harrison.
So which trustees are you?
I mean, this is the county commissioners, yeah.
Right.
I mean, not the Etna Township trustees, but the county commissioners have weighed on
Okay.
it. So again, we're still working with our attorney, trying to get the right legal opinion about whether we can pay for it or not. Hopefully, we can have some good conversation with them Monday and get some decisions made, because, I mean,
Yeah.
you can say what we're going to say, is we can't afford to
We
build a
can't,
building.
yeah, we
If they
can't
make
build
us
a
put the
new
roundabout in, we don't have the money to build it. We don't
And
have
the
the money.
irony is, we had a larger student population with more student drivers on that road with that high school and middle school.
That's what
than
I was
this
just going to
elementary
ask.
on different times, so it's
That is
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
And we cannot afford to build the school and pay $2 million to put in a roundabout.
It seems just counterintuitive that this county government, especially someone who sits on the planning commission who lives in this community, would be okay with us not being able to do this. It's absolutely stupid.
Maybe a couple of them are in support of it, put it that way, so.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and sadly, that may be the case, but I would behoove them to come here and talk to us and talk to this community so we all can understand what is going on.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea.
Because-
if they push it, they need to come and explain to our
because we-
community why we need a roundabout over an elementary school building.
Exactly. It infuriates me
Yes.
as a taxpayer who votes for these commissioners.
Yes.
And we're going to pay for a roundabout that well then by all means, if it's ours, then maybe just people going to and from school should use it. I'm saying that sarcastically, of course, but it's ridiculous. So they want us to pay for a turn-in and for a roundabout.
which could be about $2.5 million to $3 million.
And you would think for the betterment of Licking County and for the growth that's coming with Intel and all of the things that are coming, that this would be a non-issue, that this would be a no-brainer. This is a win-win for everyone. But apparently we have some people on this zoning commission, whatever, that I don't see them here, but they're making decisions for all of us, and that is sad.
I agree.
I'm sorry, man, that this is a closed meeting. If you want to speak, you had to sign up at the beginning. And your time will come at the end, so you can speak then. Thank you.
So, refresh my memory. How long has the four-way stop been there?
Only about
Not
3,
long.
4 years.
Who made that decision?
Not us.
No, we didn't. We weren't even consulted on it, were we?
Nope.
I think it was there before the PHE, the public health emergency, but only maybe a year before that. That's probably
Yeah,
correct.
So
Yeah.
that'd be interesting to find out who made that little
Yeah,
decision.
The other part of it is we could put a stoplight in, and a stoplight would be significantly cheaper, but it's not warranted. It's not warranted. A stoplight's not warranted, but a roundabout is. They said the county would probably turn down a stoplight, which would probably be about $250,000.
A
half at the most.
roundabout, wouldn't that take up so much space? It
Yeah,
would
so that's
encroach
part of
upon
the cost is
people's
buying
yards
land and getting all that, yep.
I suggest if the meeting does not go well, that we invite them to the next meeting so they can explain to our constituents why their roundabout is more important than a local elementary.
But that's going to be communicated Monday, that if they make us do it, we're not going to be able to build a building.
Yep.
So, that has not officially been communicated to them. It will be Monday.
Should we have board members there? And if not, would this board consider at the next meeting passing a resolution going against this and saying what a farce it is? And, I know that there's difference between county and state governments, but I think this might be something that Representative Miller may want to come in and look at and maybe talk some sense into some of these people, because this is just stupid.
Because they're holding up our permit for our K-3 to build it.
Well, I would like them to come and explain, and I'd like them to explain to the teachers how much fun it's going to be teaching in closets again, because we don't have the money to afford a new building. Explain to them how we're going to be having to cram kids into different spaces that are not educational spaces. Oh, Lord. Oh.
So that's part of the K-3 that's, it's been really just recently coming up that we don't understand it.
How anybody could, I
don't know.
It's
So-
beyond it just boggles my mind.
Yeah, right
It's
now
disgusting.
they're wanting MOU to maybe put the turn lane and the roundabout off, but they won't allow us to build a building. I mean, open the building. And if we build it, we're not allowed opening it until the turn lane's put in. So it's all.
It's a no. I mean,
It's a no. It's a no. They're
It's-
trying to.
Yeah.
When the
force
turn
it.
lane was turned down, what was the vote on that? Do we know?
I think it was unanimous. As far
It
as I
was
know.
unanimous. And
They
did they
say
give
it was
any-
a
There was one
safety
individual
issue.
leading it. but
Okay.
it was-
Yeah, the county engineer recommended denying the variance. Said it was a safety issue, and there's only been like one wreck there in 3 years, and the speed limit's like 20 mile an hour. But there's more than 50 right turns, so you have to have a turn lane.
They were so concerned about safety that they took out our flashing light.
50 right turns coming from which direction?
I think basically from north to south. So I think because there is a turn lane already going from south.
Okay,
So
yeah,
this is
yeah,
coming north down to south. From 16 down to 40 for Casey.
And there's only 50 right-hand turns a day?
There's more. There's at least 50 right turns. Just more than
So
that.
that has to be all the people going into
Our school
Watkins
buildings.
Grove or to practice after school.
Well, they're talking about going in our school, yeah. So it could be yes. But that's what the 50 right. So their requirements is more than 50 right turns. You had left turn, right turns for us. We need to put a turn lane.
I mean,
in.
as many trips
And
as
right
I
now
make
there's-
home and back a day, I probably turn on my street 50 times.
I probably account
I need a
for
turn lane.
20 of those trips.
Part of the problem is there's a ditch right there. There's a lot of you buried utilities that's going to probably have to be moved. So that's still an unknown cost.
Makes complete sense that we're going to be closing middle school and putting in a school that won't require any more traffic than what's already there. It's just foolishness. And I think this board should possibly consider, if, depending on how Monday goes, a resolution of some sort of dissatisfaction against this governmental entity that's making decisions for our constituents and our community, that have voted us in to make decisions for this community. I mean, it just absolutely boggles my mind. Smaller government's better, right? Funny how that doesn't always, people that preach it don't actually abide by it.
Anything you want to add, Bob? You've been in all those planning commission meetings or anything?
I think you guys have said everything very well. I think that the best comment I heard was that we build schools, we don't build roads. So I think there's going to have to be a very tough decision, tough discussion on Monday, and hopefully they'll listen.
The other thing that, to me, it would seem this has been something that we've been going through, but I don't live in Etna, but if I lived in Etna, I would take pride in the fact and wanting to know that our schools are going to be there. These brand new buildings are going to be there. Most of our district is in Etna. So with that said, is the Etna government speaking up? Are their trustees, their president, are they speaking up in favor of this asinine roundabout thing that everyone hates? Or are they involved? Do they even know about this? And should we make them aware as well? Because I think the more that we shed light on this foolishness, the more people are going to understand that either this is some sort of political game that people are playing, or this is just the way things are. But the bottom line is they're doing this at the cost of education of children. They're doing this at the cost of kids having a brand new school. And I hope they can explain to me how it's worth it.
I'll let
I really
Bob
can.
talk, but I'm not sure Etna's been involved at all on this because it's a county road and not a township road. Is that correct, Bob?
Yes.
I was just saying, in the realm of it being in Etna, I would think a local government would want that, and maybe it might behoove them to speak up as well.
This may be showing my ignorance, but is Refugee a county road as well? So is it a cross of county roads, or is?
I don't know that. Is
Refugee's
Refugee a
not,
county
right?
road?
I don't think Refugee is.
It's the town. It's the splits between the township and
Pataskala.
Pataskala, right?
Deputy
Yeah,
Burwell,
I don't
would
know
you
that answer.
Deputy Burwell, did you know that?
Is Refugee Road a township road? I believe it is.
Or
It's,
county.
it's not the county, right? It's the township and Pataskala, correct? It's like split down the middle.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, I mean, we could reach out to Edna and see if they can back us up. I mean, I know they're kind of.
Can't hurt.
Yeah, we'll kind of help them, see if they'll do it, and reach out to them and see what they say. We're willing to help put a
Mr.
word
Jones,
in.
are you and Dr. Perkins in that meeting on Monday?
Yes, we are. Representatives from Garden Miller are going to be there. Our attorney's going to be there. In my understanding, it's the county engineer and the planning commission who's going to be, and Bob's going to be in
The entire planning commission?
It's my understanding. You're welcome to, a couple of you want to come on there, I'll send you an invite. It's a Zoom meeting.
What
at
time
9
is it?
o'clock. 9 o'clock Monday morning.
Okay.
So I can send it to you if
I
you want.
can't be there, but
I can
would
try.
think two of us should be
Who's the
there.
Monday?
Yeah.
Who's
Or
the
3 could be
building
there if you
around?
don't say anything.
Right.
2 there, you can talk. So I'll forward that too. You can decide if you want to attend or not. But it's something that makes us very happy. Bob's been harping about it for quite a while to us since he heard about it. Anything else on the K3?
That was enough.
Yeah, that was enough.
more than enough.
Okay, B, graduation date and time for this spring.
Right, so we have the date already approved, but we haven't approved the time, so we'd like to recommend 9 a.m., similar to last year. It was nice to avoid some of the heat.
And I think there's typically track athletes that have to get to Hilliard.
Sometimes, yes.
Sometimes.
Rugby.
And rugby as well, sometimes. Okay.
So that's that. And then the phonics curriculum purchase that Dr. Moore spoke about. And then there's the middle school course description guide, and Mr. Ball is here if anyone has any questions on that tonight.
I thought it looked great.
Yeah, I saw Spanish was leaving, but I know that's not hard. I know that's.
Do you want him to speak to it?
No, you're good. I know that's not easy to hire for, so I totally get that.
I'll say the same thing that I said to Mrs. Ladowitz. I'm extremely pleased with the broadening of
Yes.
offerings. It's
Yes.
wonderful.
And then going to our phonics thing, I did a little research earlier this week when I saw Arizona Department of Education just approved this in 2022. So I think that's good, and we are going to be able to train our teachers and make sure that they are well versed and everything is good in that.
Training is
Correct?
already scheduled on the first day that they're back in the fall.
Okay.
It will be done with the trainer in grade level pods, and then we will provide support, coaching in the classroom, and all that is needed to help people implement.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more conversation on business items? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 8, treasurer's items. We have A and B.
Motion to approve 8A and B, A with thanks.
Second.
Anything to note?
Nope.
Okay. Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 9, superintendent items. Dr.
Just a
Perkins?
couple of things this evening. One, wanted to give an update. We're currently at almost 100 kindergartners that have already registered, so we're a little ahead of where we were last year. So I'd like to do a comparison so we can kind of see how we align with our numbers projected by Cooperative Strategies, which, speaking of them, we're getting ready to do our enrollment projections, so I'll be bringing that to the board in the next couple of months when it's ready and sharing where we're at and what we're looking at. We have our Licking County Job Fair on Monday evening. We have over 100 and growing candidates coming. We have the entire county this year that is participating, as well as Liberty Christian, York Catholic, so it has really grown. So we're excited to be interviewing all of those candidates, and hopefully we'll get some really good ones again like we did last year. Noting that we did just post a bunch of new positions. 10 of those are for growth. Some are upcoming retirements, but a large chunk of them are growth just based on numbers. So that's why we want to get a head start on our hiring. And then those that have expressed an interest in the Pataskala Repurposing Advisory Group will be receiving a survey early next week, checking their availability so we can meet for the first time in hopefully the beginning to mid-April. And then we'll kind of go from there. Obviously, those will be publicly announced and published. Yes.
How much interest do we get in that group?
I think we have about 14.
Okay.
It's a pretty wide variety of parents, community members. There are a few staff members on there, so a couple of individuals have expressed interest through that and via email, so I'm going to reach out to all of them.
Good.
Any other questions for me? Okay, that's it then.
Okay, we have a couple of speakers this evening. For item 10, Mr. Clifford. And I'll remind you to start with your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak to the board, and Mr. Jones will keep your time.
Hello. I was trying to come to speak about the Ohio Department of Education report, a report that does clarify that Southwest Looking Schools was in violation of 2 federal laws, and it's 34 CFR 300.322A and 34 CFR 300.504A. That is in regards to my concern over parental access for my son Isaac in the special needs, which I made 20 requests for IEP information and did not receive any, as the report states in a big letter, that I did not receive anything until the Ohio Department of Education actually requested it on my behalf. In regards to that, I have also had to take other means and report to several other agencies as my equal access is still being denied. It is still being, I'm still being discriminated against for multiple different things, from multiple different school districts, from multiple different officials. I have made reports to Licking County Job and Family Services, the Ohio Department of Education Special Ed, that's the report I just had. I made a report to Ohio Department of Education General Ed for McKenna, Ellen, and Malachi. I reported to the Ohio Board of Counselors, Social Workers, Marriage and Family Therapists. That is for the defamation that I am concerned about with my children's file having my picture put in as if I was a criminal and an alert put in because of the mother spreading lies. I made a report to Licking County Sheriff's Office, to the Central Ohio Family, my family doctor as well, recess button for Jared Holly and Dr. Ryan, who is Kenneth's counselor, Southwest Looking School Board on January 11th, February 23rd, and now, of course, March 16th. I've also made reports to Fairfield County Common Police Court. So I was, since things are still going on, which I have been doing for months, emailing as politely as I know how, as frustrated as I've been cordial to everyone. I have not received reciprocal treatment. So in regards to that, I have sent you a certified letter, my letter of intent to sue Southwest Licking School District for the violations of defamation, of slander, of libel. I'm also including the mother, who was the one who initiated those kind of things to happen. I am suing for $6 million, $1 million for Kenna Bigley, $1 million for my daughter Ella, $1 million for Luke Malachi, and $2 million for Seth Isaac, as well as $1 million for myself for what I faced from Southwest Licking, most certainly in the last 4 months, but also it's been over 4 years. In addition to the monetary, I am requesting that district officials of Southwest Licking who will immediately comply to state, federal, and local laws, that the district officials of Southwest Licking will implement my equal access according to Fairfield County Common Police Court of my equal access of a non-custodial parent. I am requesting that the Southwest Licking schools immediately cease and desist any further discrimination against me. I am requesting for the school board to place an official apology letter in each of my children's file. I'm requesting also for the Southwest Licking School Board to make a verbal public apology based on, if nothing else, the report from Ohio Department of Education that did find violations of the district. I am also requesting for the Southwest Licking School District will
30 seconds.
Offer sensitivity continuing education for district officials, and also written policy that would explain to people how they, to the district officials, how they should deal with non-custodial parental rights. I also included in that certified letter a list of 17 people that I do, that will be named in the suit. That does include the superintendent, assistant superintendent.
Time's up.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford, for your time.
Thank you.
Well. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Mr. Ford. And I believe you know the routine.
Good evening, my name is Corey Ford. I reside at 701 Osborne Drive, Pataskala, Ohio. And the joke, okay. Why did the Scarecrow get an award? Because he stood out in his field.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
That one's not bad.
So I gave some papers out, and while it does show the K through 5 reading curriculum, that is not the focus of what I'm going to speak to tonight. The focus of what I'm going to speak to tonight is the culturally responsive teaching. I completely understand in teaching the implied concept to an educational curriculum, culturally responsive teaching keeps students interested and engaged. It's a lot easier to engage with curriculum that mirrors the values and worldview taught at home. While sounding nice and achieving some of these implicit goals, these are not the explicit goals of culturally responsive teaching. Preparing for culturally responsive teaching is an essay written by Professor Geneva Gay in 2002. Her work focuses on multiculturalism, and you can see allusions to social constructivism, which is how society and groups affect ways of knowing things. Regardless, she is the pedagogist that coined the culturally responsive teaching, so she does explain the role for teachers. On page 110 of this document I cited, and the title is on the form that I gave everybody, so you can look it up on yourself. She says, and I quote, "Contrary to the tendency in conventional teaching to make different types of learning, cognitive, physical, emotional, discrete, culturally responsive teaching deals with them in concert." Okay. Personal, moral, social, political, cultural, academic, knowledge, and skills are taught simultaneously. Odd. Political knowledge and skills are taught. For example, students are taught their cultural heritage and perspectives, a positive ethnic identity development, along with math, science, reading, critical thinking, and social activism. And she goes on. Culturally responsive teachers help students to understand that knowledge has moral and political elements and consequences which obligate them, the students, to take social action to promote freedom, equality, and justice for everyone. Professor Geneva Gay expects culturally relevant teachers to make students agents of political action, social justice activists. Now you can look her up. She's a college professor. She isn't a fringe nut I'm just making an example of. She's cited in the NEA's legal brief, the very foundation of good citizenship, the legal and pedagogical case for culturally responsive and racially inclusive public education for all students. I'll go on page 108, I quote, "There are several recurrent trends in how formal school curricula deal with ethnic diversity that culturally responsive teachers need to correct. Among them are avoiding controversial issues such as racism, historical atrocities, powerlessness, hegemony, focusing on accomplishments of the same few high-profile individuals repeatedly and ignoring the actions of groups." So Professor Geneva Gay says that culturally responsive teachers ensure that actions of groups are evaluated and critiqued through a lens of racism, power, and hegemony. Hegemony is the dominant idea and norms in a community of one group over another. Culturally responsive teaching is political activism as defined by the woman that invented it. You can teach phonics without teaching political activism. Parents want you to teach phonics without political activism. Now you can put our minds at ease and give parents a meaningful way to inspect the curriculum. Oftentimes, like this phonics program likely is, it's sold with buzzwords to convince people that it's a good buy that are of a political persuasion. Put our minds at ease. Make sure that this is the case, that it's just a buzzword. And with my remaining 30 seconds, I will answer any questions you have.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Ford.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Ms. Patton. Thank you for waiting. Just start with your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
My name is Jolinda Patton. I live at 239 Wellington Place in Pataskala. And I first want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with the Board of Education members. I'd like to focus my questions towards the recent passing of the Senate Bill 1, knowing that the previous version of this bill died last year. This 2,000-page bill is primarily sponsored by Bill Rennick and affects 1.7 million public school children, and some of their parents are here tonight. I have a few questions about this bill and how it would affect your leadership if it passes the House, which I've also written down should you need additional time to respond. As you probably already know, if this Senate Bill 1 is passed by the majority of the House, it will change the Department of Education to be called the Department of Education and Workforce, and create a new leadership position not under the preview of the State Board of Education, but under the Governor DeWine's cabinet. My first question, do you think that the Board of Education is similar to the departments of Health and Medicaid that are currently run by the Governor DeWine's appointees? Another question, do you think the passing of Senate Bill 1 will better align the education of our students to the needs of Ohio's employers? The Senate Education Committee ranking member, Senator Catherine Ingram of Cincinnati, said that spotlighting districts at the bottom of state report cards or test scores only points to a greater problem not addressed by the Senate Bill 1. Do you think that the passing of Senate Bill 1 will leave certain children with low report cards and low test scores left behind? Another question, what are the current protections for students who haven't had the COVID-19 vaccine? The Senate Bill 1 will reduce the Board of Education's power to include hiring a new superintendent of public instruction and dealing with district-level, territorial, and license issues. Question, are you aware of how the teacher's license and professional conduct will change if Senate Bill 1 is passed by the House? Question, can you specifically address any criticisms of homeschooling regulations should Senate Bill 1 pass? Senate Education Committee Chair Senator Andrew Brenner of Delaware complimented the State Board of Education members by being hardworking people with good intentions for the state education system. Last question. What is your opinion on including a ban on trans female athletes in school sports with the Senate Bill 1, otherwise known as Save Women's Sports Act? With my last minute, I'd like to, I interrupted earlier. I have a meeting with the county commissioner on the 30th of this month at 1:30 should you want to take that time to speak to your county commissioner, let me know, and we'll make arrangements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we have anyone from Teamsters? Southwest Licking Education Association?
All right, this has been by far my favorite school board meeting, I think, all year. Like, I have really loved the discussion, the presentations. I already said I loved WIS and Etna and our teachers and students being displayed, Mrs. Ladowitz, and all those highlights of high school offerings. They are all exciting, and I really appreciated the board's passionate discussion regarding the road changes. It is very difficult to have questions and be asking someone to listen to your concerns and explain their reasoning. The frustration of having something done that impacts you and those you care about is justified. It is very frustrating when you're told this is just the way things are, and if you don't like it, tough. In fact, I believe it's essential in any organization that all members can ask questions, wonder why things are happening, and ask for everyone's opinion to be considered. A lot has happened this month. Our teachers have coached our students in preparing for regional and state academic competitions such as Quiz Bowl, National History Day, robotics, Power of the Pen, and others with fabulous success. We have spring athletes beginning their seasons with excitement and anticipation, and winter athletes ending their memorable seasons. We have Oliver this weekend, seeing it tomorrow, excited. There's a lot to be excited about at Southwest Licking Local Schools. However, it's easy to develop one speak with all opposing voices shut down or silenced. It's easy to defend everything that we do, and it's easy to pat ourselves on the back and protect the status quo. But in those moments, we must always strive to be better for our students today than we were yesterday, and to be looking at what can we do better, how can we meet every student where they are, and help them along their path. I truly believe the only way to be successful in the stride for success is to welcome and encourage as many voices as possible, to plan for the future and be open to looking critically at how we can improve. In any organization, it's dangerous if asking a question or expressing a concern is treated as a threat to leadership, and doing so is a fearful endeavor. I don't know of any group that can thrive or grow if the group is not willing to embrace differing viewpoints and be willing to ask the difficult questions. As educators, we teach our students to ask questions and focus on growth. And we are taught as educators to evaluate our surroundings and those in them, and so that we have the best conducive learning environment for our students. What I know for sure is that all those teachers that coach those academic and athletic competitions are already thinking about, what can I do differently next year? How can I coach? Asking the students, what do you need? Asking other coaches, what do you need? What did you do? What could we do differently? And that's important if you really want to grow. And I think as a district, we should try to always do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last item is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Engel? Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler?
Yes, we are adjourned at 8:48 p.m.